So my name is Dr. Bianca Baldini. I've been a physical therapist for 23 years and an acupuncturist, I think, for now 17, 18 years. I started my career working with the New York City Ballet in the very beginning of my acupuncture profession. And so I have a lot of experience working with feet, as you can imagine. Shoving your feet into point shoes is not always the easiest thing to do. One of the interesting facts about being on full point is the dancer typically has about as much pressure through her toes as if she has two elephants sitting on her shoulders. So, which is huge, right? And I think we don't really put enough emphasis on foot care. I think in this country, especially because most of us walk around in tight shoes all the time. So we also see we have a lot of runners, obviously, and poor gait mechanics. So with that comes a lot of foot damage and foot structure. So I'm excited to be on with you today to talk about some of the things that I kind of came up with in terms of working with different acupressure points on the feet in particular, but also I'm going to kind of take you a little bit up the chain as well to take a look at the calf, which plays a major role in foot issues, and especially for the people that use your socks, being Pilates and yoga, some of the mechanics when you come up and raise your heel, a lot of it comes up the chain, so you're putting a lot of pressure through the calf. So so that's my background is a lot to do with feet and dancers. So I'm excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, and this is amazing. And when I created Tucketts, it was sure an alternative for the existing socks at the time. That was like 7 years ago. But over the years, I came to realize how feet are abandoned. This is that part of the body that people don't pay much attention, that actually gets hidden in the shoes. And also, people don't like so many times to show their feet, right? Show their toes. And because we don't pay attention, we are really not aware of what's happening in that very fundamental part of our body.
Yeah.
So let's start with something very basic, and is why we should take care of our feet. Why shall we pay attention to our feet before any pain arrives or appears?
Well, I mean, we're dealing with a really complex structure, right? So we've got 26 bones, 33 joints, and you've got like a combination of over 100 muscles, tendons, ligaments, all in these tiny little, this box of bones and muscles. And, it's our foundation, right? It's when we stand up in the morning and we're grounded to the earth and we're walking around. If we don't take care of our feet, the whole rest of the chain can become dismantled, essentially. And I remember back in the beginning of my career as a physical therapist, there was a really interesting continuing education course called When the Foot Hits the Ground, Everything Changes. So it was a really interesting course because it talked about how your entire biomechanical flow up the chain can be affected just by how your feet are on the ground. So like I said before, when you smash your feet into shoes, you don't have the articulation through your toes. You don't have the ability to have, what we call mechanoreceptors or proprioceptors, the joint's ability to know where it is in space at all times. So, the importance of your feet is that it gives your whole rest of your system the sensation of groundedness and the ability to be stable. So I think if we don't take care of our feet, you're going to create, like I said, all the way up the chain, biomechanical problems, and then you're always going to be picking off the problems up the chain. So if you really take a look at your feet and how important they are, taking care of them is really one of the most important things.
Yeah, and especially in the last probably couple of months, I hike a lot, for example, and I have noticed how like my toes are bothering me, and then I end up going to the chiropractor, and it turns out he focused a lot on feet beyond just the normal traditional adjustment.
Yep.
And then then as he was putting pressure on different parts of my foot, I was noticing so many things. And I even didn't know I had pain in so many parts of my feet, right?
Yeah.
And then, so, and probably many of those things could have been prevented if I have done a better, job on taking care of my feet.
Sure.
So, what can we do to take care of our feet? How can we prevent to have, to get to the point to visit the podiatrist because we have extreme pain or things that we cannot handle anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a few little gadgets that I'm bringing on with me today. But one more thing about what you just said in terms of the pain that you were having up the chain, you can have somebody that just has a bunion and they've learned how to walk in a way that will prevent them from having pain through the bunion. And they might start having neck pain or headaches. And you can actually translate those neck pain and headaches all the way down to the foot because their biomechanical gait rhythm has changed. So, when you look at it from that perspective of back pain or neck pain or headaches or even digestive complaints, pelvic floor issues, lower body ability to assimilate some sort of balance, it all stems from the foot. So taking care of the feet. One thing, I don't know about you, but I do love my, they call them yoga toes. These are not the yoga toes brand, but I do believe that when you work on really opening up the foot structure, you get flow and mobility, right? So many people that are stuck in shoes a lot, not just have plantar fascia issues, but they can even assimilate a neuroma. And that's compression of that nerve that can cause their toes to go numb. So, these are one of the most important things that I have my patients use. And I'm also a competitive triathlete, so I do a lot of running, and I'm in cycling shoes, which are very hard and very tight. So I wind up using these before I go to bed at night. And you really just thread your toes through them, and it creates this opening of the intrinsic muscles, which are, in the feet here. The second thing that I use a lot of is the spiky ball. It's called, the one that I have is called foot rubs. And I use this to break up the plantar fascia of the foot. So if there's any adhesions in the foot itself, and you kind of, when you feel the foot, you can actually feel almost like a tight Rice Krispie treats, right? Like they're little tight nodules. And you can use this to break up those tight nodules. The thing about the plantar fascia, it has very poor blood supply. It's a very dense connective tissue that helps to create tension in the bottom of the foot, particularly when you come up into a demi-point position. So when you kind of come up on the ball of your foot, you can create a tension in that plantar fascia. If the plantar fascia is tight and restricted, it's going to tug on the calcaneal bone, right? So the back of the foot bone here. And typically the pain of plantar fascia is found at this little area here on the calcaneus, on the heel bone. So like I said before, when you bend this toe, you create tension in the fascia here, and then it tugs on the calcaneus here. So by using the foot rubs to help open this up, you're literally breaking up any fascial congestion. You're also helping to reassimilate the fibers of the tissue. And then it's going to be a little painful, obviously, but what it's doing too is it's helping almost to force blood supply into the tissue. Because how does tissue heal? Tissue heals through increasing circulation. So by using the foot rubs and by breaking up the scar tissue, you're going to force an increase in circulation, so you're creating more heat to the structure as well.
Wow.
So those are my two favorite, like things.
Tools. Yeah.
But then you've got your hands and your fingers.
Right, like your own hands. And then talking about the spiky ball, I was watching one of your videos on Instagram, and then you said something very interesting, and is sometimes where the pain is not where you have to put the pressure.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm going to do a show and tell for you. Yes.
So I found that was super interesting because, I have a lacrosse ball, and sometimes, you know, when I'm seated at the office, I, you know, Zoom calls, I start just moving my feet around, right?
Yeah.
But then it came to me, it's like, oh, maybe sometimes I focus too much in the part where the pain is.
That's right.
And probably I need to focus somewhere else. So
Yes.
how can
Yes.
you please help us to understand?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let me show you this. So what I did this morning, so I have been working with trigger point therapy for about 20 years. And the idea behind that is exactly like you said, pain doesn't always manifest where the actual problem is, right? Which is why you have to kind of look up and down the chain. So I'm going to show you just as an example, because so many people do suffer from plantar fascia issues. I'm going to show you two muscles that can contribute to that. Okay, and you're actually going to see, I printed these out. So this is called the soleus muscle, and the soleus muscle is most important for your vertical motion, right? So you have to compress that soleus and use that soleus to give you vertical leap. So if you're coming up in demi-point, raising your heels at the bar, or if you're running, walking, any movement that's going to increase that heel to come up, you're going to use the soleus. Now here's the interesting part. What does this resemble? Heel pain, right?
Totally,
So
yeah.
you could roll your heel out all you want. You can rub your heel out all you want, and you may always feel that pain and say, well, why is the pain not going away? I keep going to the area of pain. But look where the area of origin is actually located, right? It's located above. It's in the soleus muscle. You can see the big muscle here of the calf, and here that where that little X is, that is the root of the soleus trigger point, and the referral pain pattern is into the heel. So you can actually see that there's a direct correlation. So you can forego having to release this with your fingers, slide a little higher up on the outside or the inside of where the Achilles tendon comes up and attaches to the calf. By releasing that, you can start to give some relief to the calf, okay? So if I was to show you, I'm in a chair right now, but let's see if I could do this. Okay, hold up. Can you see my calf? No, you really can't see it. Hold on here.
Oh, yeah, there.
Can you see it now? Okay, so you can see my heel, right? And you can see my calf. If you can see the Achilles here, right? Now, if you slide a little bit off to the side, the Achilles here, you can see it there. And then on the opposite side, you can see it there. So you can actually take your ball, right? And you can work this here, up here, or work it on the outside here to give some relief to the heel itself. You can also work on stretching, and then with your fingers, you can work on just above as well. So you're literally creating friction while you're stretching. Remember, this important part here is attached to the big toe. You can stretch the big toe, and then you can release on working the soleus. So you're not even touching the heel, but you're affecting the heel by way of this muscle.
Wow.
That's one. My second muscle, which is super important, and this is really important for the people that are doing bar classes, right? Because you're up on your toes, or you're up on your heel a lot. This is the medial gastroc muscle. So you can see here too. Okay, same calf, right? You know that the soleus was down here. Well, look at the trigger point here. This is the inside of the calf. This is where the trigger point is located, but the pain referral is here.
Wow.
Right? Isn't that so interesting? So you can literally release the calf muscle to release the pain in the arch of the foot. Now this is a really easy one. I'll show you here on me. Again, okay, this is the medial calf, right? The inside of the calf. And you can literally just take your fingers, come in here and grab it, right? Like I'm grabbing it, and then hold it, and you can do an active release work. So I'm squeezing, and then I'm pointing and flexing my toes and my foot. And just by doing that, you're releasing. This is called an active release technique. And here you go. You're going to release the tension in the bottom of the foot.
Wow.
Are you taking notes?
I'm taking notes. Yeah. I'm taking notes of certain things. Yeah. No, and no, for me this is like a wow.
Yeah.
Because again, before I was so focused on just moving the foot and giving the massage to the foot, etc.
Yeah.
But I think this information is just so important, key,
It really is.
and
Yeah.
I think it can change the way how we walk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just the
Yeah.
way you're grounded, you know, the way you can really feel the ground. But I was thinking about, you know, maybe teaching you 3 acupressure points on the feet that I think are probably one of the 3 most important. Now, your demographic, I'm assuming, is mostly women, right? I mean, that wear these mainly. So one of the things that I wanted to show you was a point on the foot. Now, reflexology and acupressure they're similar but different, right? There's many acupuncture points in the whole entire body, right? But the points that we use are specific for certain symptomatology or certain different ways that we diagnose in Chinese medicine. So one of the most important foot points, in my opinion, is called liver 3. So if you take, I don't know if you can see here, hold on. If you take your foot, so here, okay, and you find the big toe and the middle toe, okay, and you bring your finger right where the 2 come together in this fleshy part, okay, right here. If you press on that, okay, that's quite a tender spot, all right. And this is called liver 3. The liver in Chinese medicine moves stagnation. Okay, so energetically, it has to do with keeping things flowing smoothly. So let's think about this. Pain is stagnation, right? Emotional pain is the inability to move through your stagnant thoughts. Physical pain is, you know, a lot of times it's irritation of the tissue, it's tightening of the soft tissue, it's accumulation of lymph flow. So we want to move things, almost like breaking down a dam. That point, liver 3 on the foot, is indicated for generalized pain in the body, and it's a really important point for women, specifically premenstrual, menstrual cramping. I've used this with women that are in labor. You know, breast tenderness, anything that has to do with whenever you're feeling stuck, even energetically. So if you feel like, you know, your cognition's off, you have a mental block, your writer's block, you feel like you can't move forward, that point is going to help break down your stagnant dam so that you can move forward.
So how long for do we put pressure?
2 minutes. I mean, honestly, it's a super sensitive point, especially when you're feeling stagnant. I mean, do you know that feeling, right, where you just feel like you're stuck? So when you're feeling that stuckness or when you're in pain, you can get in there with your finger and kind of move it around until you can dissipate some of the discomfort in the general area. And I always say try both sides, right? Because that point is located on both feet in the same area. Try both sides. One side might be more sensitive than the other. Do it until the pain starts to dissipate.
Wow, that's amazing. That's number 1.
Yes,
And
number
then,
1. Number 2 is kidney 1. Actually, I'm going to end with kidney 1 because kidney 1 is probably the most important point. This is called gallbladder 40, and this is a point specifically for those that have a tendency to on both feet at the same time. No, you could do one at a time. Definitely one point and then the other. Just see which points are actually more tender for you and kind of spend more time to see if you can dissipate that pain. The second point is gallbladder 40. Gallbladder 40 is really important for those that deal with any sort of instability in the ankle. So if you have a tendency to kind of roll your ankle, or if you have chronic ankle instability issues, or acute rolling of the ankle, this is a really important point. And this point is located, let's see, here's the outside of the ankle. This bone here, it's called the malleolus. If you slide down, you'll feel a little hole. But then if you come slightly in front of that, you can actually see there's even more of a divot there, okay? So it's right in the front there. And if you have a tendency to have some ankle instability, you can get your finger in there and rub around. And what happens is when you do, this is kind of called a friction massage. Friction, there's also 3 ligaments that sit on the ankle. They kind of fan themselves like this, right? So when you have ankle instability, oftentimes one of these ligaments becomes stretched, and then the ankle becomes super hypermobile. So you feel more unstable in here. So when you do a friction massage to this area, specifically around gallbladder 40, you're breaking up the scar tissue that's been healing itself. If you had a little bit of an issue like with rolling it, you can break up some of that scar tissue and then reestablish a normal pattern of fibers of how that ligament needs to go. You're also spreading out if there's a pocket of swelling there, because we don't want things to stay swollen, right? Swollen just means stagnation again. We want to dissipate the stagnation, and that's gallbladder 40. The interesting thing about the gallbladder in Chinese medicine is we say it's the hinge, meaning half in, half out. So if you can't make a decision, or if you're kind of sitting on the fence about something, it's because your gallbladder meridian and your gallbladder channel is actually stuck. So it's kind of like half the foot inside the door, half the foot outside the door. Or if you have motion sickness, it's another issue around gallbladder insufficiency. And again, when I say gallbladder, I don't mean the Western gallbladder. I just mean the energetics of how we think about this in Chinese medicine. So that's another indication for that point. The last point before I have to go, because I have to go treat patients, is kidney 1. I personally think this is probably one of the most important points in the entire acupuncture meridian chart. And the reason why it is because, well, 1, it's the only point in acupuncture that is found at the sole of the foot, okay? So here we go. Sole of the foot. If you take the 2nd and the 3rd toe, okay, 2nd and the 3rd toe, and you align it with the middle of the heel, okay, it is found at the top 1/3. So here's 1/3, here's 1/3, here's 1/3. It's found here at this hole right here.
Right,
okay?
Yeah,
It's like right, when you come up into demi point, it's not on the ball of the foot, it's right past that. So this would be really good to stimulate with this ball, okay, with the foot rubs ball. So the part about kidney in Chinese medicine is that it's a grounding point, okay? The kidneys rule the low back, the kidneys rule the bones. It helps you to stay grounded. So if you're feeling like you're kind of flying off the handle, anxiety, too much in your head, if you're a woman that has hot flashes, menopause or perimenopausal hot flashes, what that point does is it literally reaches up and grounds you. It brings you back down into the ground. So we say that man sits between heaven and earth. That kidney 1 point grounds you to the earth.
wow.
So when you're starting to feel like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind, or, I'm super anxious, even if you just stand and you can feel yourself connect to that point that I just showed you at kidney 1, it will bring you centered. It will get you grounded again. And that's why, standing mountain pose in yoga, right, is just you're standing there and feeling your energy root itself into the ground. That's by way of kidney 1. It's almost like when I think about it, I think about extending a root system into Mother Earth, right, into the ground. So you can sit there like a tree and just be really, really grounded. So I personally think, like, when I'm starting to feel anxious or upset or ungrounded, That's what I'll do. I'll stand there and really connect to that kidney 1 point.
Wow. And that brings such awareness of that part of the food.
Yeah.
That, you know, when your mind kind of knows where the key things are located, then actually you can really pay attention, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This has been amazing, and I feel like it's so short, and then I have so many questions, and probably we can in the future we can do another.
I would love that.
Chat.
Sure, anytime.
And this is why, kind of without even knowing, when I started Tucketts, for me was like, despite like the necessity of having grips and having a sock that absorbs the moisture, the food needs to be in contact with the ground. Like Absolutely. The toes need to be out, and we need to pay attention to our feet. So thank you so much. I have learned so many things.
Good, I'm so glad.
I'm going to apply them. This is great. This is
so
great.
Wonderful.
Bianca,
yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
I send you a big hug.
Big COVID hugs.
Yeah, exactly. And then look forward to seeing you again in another time.
Absolutely. Take care. Be good.
But one last thing, I just want to ask you, because I'm sure that, like me, many people are going to be curious. Oh my God, I want to learn more, or probably they want to work with you. Where they can find you?
Sure. So on, on social media channels, on Instagram, I am at Dr. Dr. Bianca Baldini, and I'm assuming you probably have it linked in here. Mm-hmm. On TikTok, I'm the Wellness Guru, and my main website is sundala.com. S as in Sam, UNDALA. And I do telehealth for people that, don't live in my area. I am in the greater New York area, so I had treat patients in New York City, as well as Westchester and New Jersey. But I'm open and more than happy to answer questions. If people have anything, they can always DM me on Instagram as well.
Yeah, guys, please don't hesitate to contact Dr. Bianca, because this is just amazing. Okay, again,
yes.
Thank you very much. I let you go. I know you're busy.
Thanks, Paola. Be good. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.